Myth number 5. Spaniards immediately become your close friends. Spaniards are often described as warm, open, sociable, and incredibly easy to become friends with. There is some truth behind this impression. Daily interactions can feel lively and informal. People may speak enthusiastically, use physical contact more freely, invite you to social events, and make you feel welcome very quickly. But social warmth is not necessarily the same thing as immediate emotional closeness. Many Spaniards have strong friendship circles developed through school, university, family connections, or their neighborhood. Entering those established circles as an adult can take time, especially if you work remotely, don't speak Spanish confidently, or live in a large city. You may have enjoyable conversations, go out with people, and still need months or even years to develop a deeper friendship. This is not because Spaniards are unfriendly. It simply means that friendliness and friendship for them are two different things. This was an important lesson for me as a foreigner, to not assume that a warm first interaction automatically means I have already entered someone's close social circle. Building genuine friendships in Spain still requires time, consistency, and effort. Myth number 4. Spanish food is spicy and everyone eats paella. People sometimes assume Spanish food is spicy, often because they mix it up with Mexican or other Latin American cuisines. In reality, traditional Spanish food is generally mild rather than spicy. Spain certainly uses flavorful ingredients such as garlic, paprika, and olive oil, but most dishes are not hot in the sense of containing large amounts of chili. Paella is another major misconception. It originated in Valencia, and traditional Valencian paella is a very specific dish. Rice dishes are eaten across Spain, but what people call paella outside of Valencia may be quite different from the original. More importantly, Spaniards do not eat paella every day, and Spanish cuisine varies enormously by region. Galicia, for example, is known for dishes such as Galician-style octopus, and Andalusia for its cold soups like gazpacho and salmorejo. The base country, Asturias, Catalonia, Canary Islands, and so on, all have their own ingredients, dishes, and culinary traditions. There isn't one single Spanish cuisine that everyone eats in exactly the same way. Food here reflects geography, climate, history, and regional identity. Myth number 3. Spaniards are lazy and everyone takes daily siesta. This is probably one of the most persistent and most annoying stereotypes about Spain. Historically, siesta made sense, particularly in rural communities and hot climates where people worked early, rested during the hottest hours, and continued later. Some people still nap after lunch, especially on weekends during summer or when working split shifts. But most people with a conventional job in Madrid, Barcelona, or another modern city cannot simply leave work every afternoon and go to sleep. When shops close in the afternoon, that doesn't necessarily mean everyone who works there is napping. It often reflects traditional split opening hours, with businesses closing for lunch and reopening later. Spain's late daily schedule is also more complicated than the siesta. In the 1940s, Spain moved its clocks to Central European time, even though most of the country is geographically closer to the UK's time zone. This contributes to the difference between solar time and clock time, but late meals also reflect traditional working patterns, long lunch breaks, and established social habits. Spaniards do not necessarily work less. In my experience, they don't work less at all compared to many other European countries. Their day is just often organized differently and sometimes stretches much later. Myth number 2, Spain has one homogeneous culture. From outside Spain, people see one country, one flag, and one internationally dominant language. That makes it easy to imagine a single Spanish culture. But Spain is a collection of regions with very strong identities, different languages, climate, histories, traditions, and even political relationships with the idea of Spain itself. This is also why flamenco and bullfighting, for example, cannot represent the entire country. Flamenco has particularly deep roots in Andalusia, although it developed through several cultural influences and is now performed across Spain and internationally. Bullfighting also varies greatly by region. Madrid and parts of Andalusia and central Spain have important bullfighting traditions, while in other regions it has little cultural presence. Is actively rejected or has been legally restricted. So if you have visited one Spanish region, you have experienced one part of Spain, not the entire country. Myth number 1, Spain and Latin America are basically the same culture. This is the biggest misconception for me and probably the one that I personally believed the most before moving abroad and making friends with Spaniards, with people from Latin American countries, and eventually getting married into a Spanish family. I think it's especially common in countries such as Serbia, where many of us grew up watching Latin American telenovelas. Because Spain and most of Latin America share a major language, we sometimes mix Spanish and Latin American food, music, accents, and social customs into one imagined culture. But sharing a language does not make them culturally identical. Spain and Latin America have centuries of shared and often difficult history, as well as many linguistic and cultural influences. But Spain is a European country with its own regional cuisines, institutions, historical experiences, social habits, and cultural references. At the same time, Latin America is not one culture either, of course. There are many different countries: Mexico, Argentina, Colombia, Cuba, Peru are not culturally interchangeable, just as Spain, Italy, and France aren't interchangeable simply because they are European countries with related languages. Even the Spanish language varies enormously. Vocabulary, pronunciation, expressions, and forms of address can change from one country to another and within Spain itself. So Spain and Latin America are deeply connected, but they are not basically the same. Treating them that way simplifies the identities and diversity on both sides of the Atlantic. Those are 10 of the biggest misconceptions I've encountered during my 3.5 years living in Spain, first in Sevilla, now in Madrid, and through everything I've learned from my Spanish family along the way. Of course, Spain is a large and diverse country, so people's experiences will vary depending on the region, generation, and social environment. But now I want to hear from you. Which of these misconceptions surprised you the most? And is there another myth about Spain that you think deserves to be included in part 2? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, share it with someone who thinks they already know Spain, and subscribe for more honest information about traveling to and living in Spain. See you in the next one. Bye.